What's going on, everybody? EJ here. Welcome to the next episode of the Everybody Eats podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs by an entrepreneur, where we talk about tips, trials, technologies, but also photography tips, videography tips, and marketing tips for entrepreneurs for when you need to do something, but you can't afford to contract it out. You can do it yourself and still have high quality stuff. That's what we're all about over here. And welcome to the next episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe and rate and all that great stuff if you enjoy this podcast. And today we are going to talk about automating as part of your marketing plan, because you need one. You need a marketing plan, and automations make it really, really easy to not only stay consistent with that marketing plan, but it just helps entrepreneurs, because usually we're doing things by ourselves or we have a really small team, and anything that you can have happen automatically without having to make space in your brain on a constant basis for it is A+ in my book, and probably a lot of other entrepreneurs too. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it. Okay. So I have 5. I have 5 different automations that I think entrepreneurs either need to look into and or definitely use. And I'll make that distinction when we get there, just to make their lives a little bit easier. And these are actually things that I actually use and can say that they work. And so we're going to just jump into it. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a Gmail add-on. So this, to my knowledge, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but you can look into it. But I think this is only for Gmail, but it is a program, it's an add-on called Streak. Now Streak is an email monitoring system is what I'm going to call it. I'll leave the link to Streak in the description bar so you can see how they describe themselves. But to me, it's a way to organize your emails, whether it's in folders. What I use it for is when I pitch myself to companies. So what I really like is that they have what is called a pipeline, and I am using the sales pipeline. So they have pipeline templates, then you can make your own. But I'm using a sales pipeline because it has 5 steps where it's like pitched, person responded, contract won, contract lost, things like that. And it helps me keep track of where I'm at with these different pitches, because I pitch myself a certain amount of times every week, and that number can add up. And it's hard trying to keep track of where I'm at and, whatever for all these emails, and that really helps. And I love it because I can go right into the add-on in Streak and add the actual email addresses from people, so I can keep actual track of who it is. So versus an Excel sheet where I would just put the name of the company, but then I would have to go back into my emails and search for it. I can in Streak, when I go to my pipeline, I can click on that email address and it brings up the thread of emails, the pitching emails or whatever, whether or not they respond or whatever it is, it brings it up right away. And so it saves me time and helps me keep track. The other thing that I like and with Gmail, and I think this is because my email address is through my domain, and I opted to have Gmail. I was gonna say control it, but it's the interface is within Gmail. And so I don't know if this is a business email function, but it does this thing where it brings up nudges, and then it will say email sent 5 days ago, follow up, and I can press it, and it does that automatically. And like I said, I think it's a business email function, because I have a personal Gmail and it doesn't do that. So I think this is a domain specific business email function. I don't know if it does it with regular Gmail accounts, but it's worth looking into because that definitely helps also. And then saying like if somebody responds to me and I didn't reply, it will say email received 3 days ago, respond. It literally says that. And so that's the second thing that I really, really love that helps me. It's not automated in a way where it like will automatically take care of something, but it's automated in the way where it reminds me. It's like that client management thing, that little piece of client management, because responding and communicating with your clients is so imperative that the little thing like, hey, this person sent you an email 2 days ago, I might want to respond. Like, it really, really helps. So that's the second thing. The third thing, again, and I'm not sure if this is a domain business email related Gmail thing only, but I can schedule the time and the date that I want emails sent. Now, again, this isn't completely automated, but it is partially automated. And I really use this specifically when I'm pitching emails. If I've already had a conversation with the client, I don't necessarily schedule emails because sometimes I don't get to my emails till like 11 o'clock at night. And so if I already am talking to my client back and forth or whatever, I don't know if this is good practice or not, but I'll just send the email whenever I write it. But if I'm pitching myself, this is where I will use the scheduling option. And again, I have my domain. My email is via my domain. So it's Erica my business email is erica@ericaj.com. So it's like my email is off of my domain, but then it's controlled by Gmail. So this might be, I'm not sure, but it might only be with business things. So I just don't want anybody to get confused if you go on to it and I'm saying this stuff and you don't see it. But it's just a regular email Gmail interface when you're typing up an email, except when the send button has an arrow and you can click the arrow. It's literally to the right of it, and you can click the arrow and you can pick the time and the date that you want it to be sent. So when I'm doing my pitching emails, most of the time it's at night, or sometimes it's in the middle of the day. And when you're sending your pitch emails, you want to try and, well, I'm speak personally, I try to send my emails in the morning so that it has in the morning or toward the end of the day, so that it has less likely to get buried, and whoever I'm pitching myself to can actually see it. If you send it, well, to me, in my head, if you send an email in the middle of the day, based off the way that my emails go, I may or may not see it. But usually in the mornings, I have a set time to check my emails. And I do this at my day job too. I have a set time to check my emails, and I will sit there and go through all my emails. Granted, everybody doesn't do that the same way, but if you send me an email and I see it's in that first batch of emails, cool. And then I usually have a chance, like toward the end of the day, to look at my emails. Also, I look at them intermittently in between sometimes, but that's not always guaranteed. But I always try to at least check it twice a day. And so that's why I send my pitch emails either like first thing in the morning or later on in the afternoon around 3 or 4 o'clock, because that's usually how I do it. And I'm looking at it as a viewpoint of, okay, I'm running my photography, videography business, and I have a full-time job. And that's how I figured it out. So that's what I do. So anyway, so that's picking a day and a time to send those pitch emails really, really comes in handy. So that is the third thing. I think we're on the third thing. Okay, the next one, this is something that I have set up on my website. It's automated forms after somebody fills out a contact form on your website. So on most of our websites, we have somewhere where somebody can input their email address to find out more information or to be added to the newsletter or what have you. I have a bunch of contact forms on my website to be short. Like, so I actually have a form on a page for this podcast, if somebody wants to be a guest, they fill out a form. And so what happens is after they fill out the form, a couple of automations are automatically started. And yes, these do take time to set up, but it's like once I set them up, and actually looked at my website client. I used Wix for my website, and I think it went away, or I navigated off of it. But anyway, I think it said I had like 17 different automations because I have different forms on a website and then just the different automations with that. So with the Be a Guest automation, it's probably one of the shortest automations that I have, but they fill out a form. First thing that does is that I get notified. I get notified on my app because I have the Wix app on my phone, and I get notified via email. That makes sure that I don't miss that somebody filled in the form. That's for me. The second thing that happens automatically at the same time is that the person that filled out the form gets a email saying thank you for wanting to be a guest. Here is how we do the interviews, and here is a bunch of different questions that I will be pulling from to ask or that you can answer, because I wanted people to be prepared. So that's one of the shortest ones. And actually, I'm getting ready to add another one to that stream where I think I wanted to add two. Where guests that have already, like, we've already done their interview and their episodes have already been up. I wanted to take them off of that specific mail list and put them on another mail list. And so that way, because I wanted to add another automation where it was like once every 2 weeks, I would send an email to the list of people that signed, wanted to be a guest, like that specific email list. I wanted to send an email saying, just like a reminder, let's get your interview squared away, type thing. And so they've already been a guest. I don't want them to keep getting those emails. So I wanted to set up one where I take the people who have been a guest off and put them on another list, because I still want to keep their information for in the future. And then do the like twice a month emails on the other list. So those are the two automations that I'm probably going to have set up by the end of this week or the beginning of next week. But the automations happen. And what I like about Wix is that I can actually choose when those automations will happen. So like I said, the one immediate one they get that immediately, and that's what I set it up for. The bi-monthly emails that I'm going to set up, I can set it up where it says, hey, send this on the 15th and the 30th of every month. So that is something that I do not have to think about. But one, it reminds the people that wanted to be involved. It keeps those communication lines open. And with the automated emails, if they reply to it, it just goes to my email box anyway, which I said I check at least twice a day. So I still see all of their stuff. So it's just really, really helpful for me. But the other thing I like about Wix automations is that you can automate more than just emails. I use it specifically for emails, but you can automate different tasks and stuff, like just for your side or just for your customer side. One thing that I've seen, I don't use Wix for invoices. The level of, membership, you could say, that I have, you can use automations on invoices. I do my automations for my invoices through my invoicing system, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But you can set up automations through Wix for your invoices, because you can send invoices through Wix to your customers also. To me, Wix is a really great one-stop shop. So you can create an invoice, you can send reminders, things like that. Everything can be automated, and different things. So if you're looking for a website client where you can have a lot of extras and a lot of different add-ons, I would suggest going to Wix, because I love their email automations. It's fantastic. However, there's email clients out there. Like I used to use MailChimp. It's just easier for me to keep all my email stuff in my website. But MailChimp is good too, and it's I think they still have it where it's free up to 1,000 emails. I think if it's still that way, but look into that. But there's a bunch of different email clients, but I just am saying MailChimp because I've used MailChimp before and it was pretty good. So, all right. So the automated emails, I think that was number 4, I think. So again, we're going to go to the invoicing system. Like I said, so I use Wave for my invoicing system. I actually use Wave and Square, but for payment, but for invoices, I use Wave. Kind of like I was saying with Wix, the Wave invoicing system, I can set up after I, create the invoice, I can set it up so that the clients get an email reminder 14, 7, or 3 days before the due date. They can get one on the due date, and then they can get one 3, 7, or 14 days after the due date. Depending on when the invoice is created and when the event that they want me to do photography or videography is, depends on which number, like 3, 7, 14 that I click on. But let's say the invoice is created more than 2 weeks before the event. So I actually would click all of those because it only sends the ones that apply. So I can click the 14, 7, and 3 days before the due date. I can click the on the due date and click the 3, 7, and 14 after the due date. Let's say the client pays, let's say the client doesn't pay, but then they get the 14 days before due date email and they pay then, it will totally disregard all the other reminders. So if they pay, they won't get an email on the 7 or the 3 before or the 7, 3, or 14 after. It totally disregards all the rest. I'm like, it stops after they pay, it stops all the other ones. The other thing that I like about the way Wave does it is that I do have clients that are on payment plans, and so if they pay part of it, it will still keep all those emails. The only time it disregards the emails is if the client pays the invoice completely, which helps because of different policies that I have for different types of clients. So that's why I just click all the ones that are applicable. I know that Wave is not the only invoicing system that has automated reminders, things like that, but I really, really like it. And I can customize the reminder email. Mine is pretty general because, again, I don't know. So like I have one that's for the before, I have one that's on the on, and then I have on the due date, and then I have one that's for the past due date. I never really know when, the invoice is going to be. Yes, there's a due date, but within that time frame, I don't know when the client's going to pay their invoice. And so, I just have them all set up, but it really, really comes in handy because then I'm just not like, oh, when is this one due? When is this one? Like trying to hurry up and remember all that. Or I used to, like years ago, put reminders in my calendar. Like it was just a lot. It was just a lot. And the thing with Wave is that I do get notified when a customer or client pays either partially or full. So it won't remind me or won't send me a notice saying, oh, hey, we sent this client the 7 days before email, but it will say, oh, so-and-so paid this much, or so-and-so paid their invoice in full. So then that will be like, oh, they must have got one of the reminder emails type thing. So if you, whatever invoicing system you have, look to see if you are able to do that. If not, I recommend Wave. I like it. It's easy to use. Okay, so that was number 5, the 5th way. And I know at the beginning I said I had 5 things, but I remembered a couple extra things. So we just got extra stuff. It's fine. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the Creator Studio on Facebook. So this specifically, Facebook is not my favorite social media platform. However, Facebook did buy Instagram, and Instagram is the one that I use most often. So I have to have my Facebook one. But the Creator Studio on Facebook is actually really, really useful. This is something relatively new. Because yes, they had business pages, and Creator Studio, I believe, is only for business pages. So hopefully you have a business page. You should have a business page. But Creator Studio is relatively new. But on the Creator Studio, you can actually create and schedule posts for Facebook and Instagram. I know that because I looked yesterday to make sure, which was always an issue, having third-party apps, trying to find a third-party app that would let you schedule post Instagram. Yes, there are some out there, but some of them wouldn't let you do videos, and some of them only, like, you would have to go in, like, it was just a lot. It was just a lot. But what I found is that the Creative Studio works because it's through Facebook, and Facebook bought Instagram, so it integrates. Other thing it said is that it also can post to your IG story or IGTV. Now, those two things I have not tested yet, but it says it can, and I don't think I have a reason to not believe that, because again, Facebook bought Instagram. But I have done the IG feed, and so creating and scheduling your posts ahead of time to be automatically posted for your social media saves so much time, and it helps you be consistent. And because you can just sit down and be like, okay, for this hour I'm going to create content, which is something that I recommend to all of my clients. Have a set time that you sit down and create your content. Then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about, like, oh, when's the last time I posted? And then you go to your feed and realize you hadn't posted in 6 days, because we're all trying to beat the algorithm, which is another beast in and of itself. But one of the surefire ways to stay, in good graces with the algorithm and with Google is to stay consistent. And one of the easiest way to stay consistent is to schedule things at a time, to automate things. So make those posts. And the thing that I love, and I haven't tried it with the videos, but I really wanted a way where I can schedule videos on Instagram, because that's a lot what I do, and you can do it from your computer. I don't think there's a Creator Studio app. I don't think so, but to me it is easier to do it on my computer, especially because I do sit down and create content, and so I can navigate to my externals or whatever I'm using to grab whatever I'm using. And so Creative Studio is the last automation I want to talk about, because it helps you with your social media, and especially if posting to the IG stories and IGTV works, like, you can save so much time. So that is it for today's episode. I just want to talk about automating things, because as we are getting so busy, and even in our slow seasons, we're still really, really busy, and it just helps to have something that you don't have to think about every single day, that maybe you just have to think about once a week or once every 2 weeks. So automate as much as you can without it being impersonal, but automate as much as you can. Those reminder emails, those social media posts, the invoice reminders, the first follow-up from people filling out the contact form on your website, like those type of things, really, really easy and really recommended to automate. So just do it. I will have links to Wix and Wave and the Creative Studio and Streak all in the description box, so that you can look at it if you're interested. But other than that, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Share this with another entrepreneur that you know who would like to know photo, video, and marketing tips for their business. And I will see you guys next week on the Everybody Eats podcast for entrepreneurs by an entrepreneur, where we talk about the tips, the trials, the technologies, photography, videography, and marketing for this entrepreneurial journey. All right, y'all. See you later.